Hello everybody and welcome to Neo, the first neoliberal channel.
Me, Rebecca and my colleague
Ilona Slipcova
are here in our open-air studio at the United Nations in Vienna, trying to understand better whether NGOs are stormtroopers of the anti-globalization movement
or they are actually global salvations of the present world.
NGOs are considered to be pressure groups. For 200 years they have been a feature of the political system in both the United Kingdom and the United States. Of the several thousand NGOs which currently have a formal status in the United Nations system, only several hundred are from developing countries, and of developed country NGOs, an overwhelming majority are from the United States.
You join us now at our indoor studio, where today we are discussing such challenging issues as the NGOs, the United Nations, the Greens and ecological imperialism, as well as international civil society and poverty, participatory and sustainable development.
There is a widespread opinion that different NGOs, of which most are environmental groups, like Greenpeace for example, are increasingly becoming massive bureaucratic organizations whose interests lie in creating hysteria to maximize their income and thereby their salaries. We are on the line with Professor Deepak, British economist, who was working as a consultant to different organizations, including United Nations Industrial Development Organization.
Hello, Mr. Lal. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Good. So, Mr. Lal, how did it actually happen that NGOs became so influential?
Well, the crucial reason is their colonisation of the UN and increasingly its specialised agencies. Since the fall of the Berlin Wall, the UN shifted its focus from its traditional role of maintaining peace to economic and social reasons, with a greatly expanded role for the Economic and Social Council. Article 17 of the UN Charter required ECOSOC to consult the NGOs that provided the route for their entry into the international system. NGOs were transformed from arm's-length consultants to full participants in the development and implementation of UN policies and its programs.
But NGOs and their supporters claim that they represent the world's citizens and therefore an international civil society. Do you share this opinion?
This claim is patently false. According to my opinion, there are no world citizens as there's no world policy. There are only citizens of nation-states to whom their governments are accountable. So, if NGOs claim that they represent the civil society was true, the proponents of their ideas would be in power in national politics. They're not. Furthermore, they're not even representatives of their own policies.
So the NGO's moral claim that they represent the views and interests of an imaginary world citizenry is false. Moving on.
Oh, wait, please. And what is actually the agenda of NGOs?
It's a left-wing agenda that took over economic and social programs of the UN. The origins of this international New Left movement lie in the various reports. The most influential has been the 1987 Brundtland report of the UN World Commission on Environment and Development. Now, this report characterises sustainable development as a global objective and asserts that sustainable development seeks to meet aspirations of the present without compromising the ability to meet those of the future.
But what about society, Mr. Lal? Does this emphasize current or future consumption?
The answer to your question is provided by thinking in the long term. While we are valuing the future consumption made possible by current investment, it's regressive to raise the consumption of a rich future generation through cutting the consumption of the current poor generation. I personally think that $1 accruing to the future generation is socially less valuable than the dollar given up by the current generation.
Then should natural resources be used by current generation in order for development to be sustainable?
The answer is yes. It's often argued that currently natural resources are being exhausted too quickly. But this is not an argument for leaving them in the ground for future generations. For example, there is a small island, Nauru, in the Pacific, where the only natural resources is guano, a valuable fertilizer. As this resource started literally disappearing, the proceeds from the sales of guano have been used to invest in real estate and other assets in Australia in order to provide its citizens with income and consumption in the future. So the current use of the exhaustible resources allows both the consumption of the current generation and its investments to be higher.
And so what about the other green scares? Are any of them without reason?
To be honest with you, most of the green scares are without any foundation. The world is not running out of resources. It's not going to starve because of the growth in its population. Even with low technology, the world could support 1.5 times the population. For those who need the evidence, works of Julian Simon, The Ultimate Resource, and Bjorn Lomborg, the skeptical environmentalists, provide comprehensive answers.
So why do the Greens continue in this way then?
The reason is that the Greens is a new secular religion, and like any religion, their beliefs are not based on reason, but on faith. Their ideological motive, to save this spaceship Earth, is not so much the concern about the environment or the health or the help for the disadvantaged. It's a radical fight against technology and for political success.
There are a number of other treaties and conventions the Greens have been able to promote which are beneficial to the interests of developing countries. Could you please give us a few examples?
Yes, sure. For instance, the Basel Convention that defines various metals as hazardous and controls trade in waste, scrap and recyclable materials. Greenpeace is using this treaty to organise a total embargo on such trade with developing countries, excluding them from global scrap metal markets. This is already having harmful effects in the countries of South Asia, especially India. It's also worth noting that the Persistent Organic Pollutants Framework Convention that bans pesticides and industrial chemicals, including DDT, the most effective control of diseases spread by bugs. Another convention promoted by the Greens is the Biodiversity Convention that controls the genetically modified food, even thought it was proved that GMO have no conceivable risk to human health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lau, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice to talk to you.
There we have it. According to Mr. Lau's opinion, the Green Movement is a modern secular religious movement which is involved in a worldwide fight in order to impose its habits of the heart on the world. As a consequence, it prevents the economic development and it may become the major future source for global disorder.
Thank you everybody for your attention and until next week, goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.